The summit was hosted by Kenya and really delved into the ways in which the African continent can contribute to global solutions. So the summit was able to highlight the potential on the continent in renewable energy and green industrialization, which will allow us to achieve our goals for development, but to do so in a climate-compatible way. Africa has immense potential to lead a low-carbon development path with its massive resources for renewable energy, its arable land, and its carbon sink. We can and we must save both the planet and both our people. And we do so by integrating health with climate action. My name is Dr. Sangu Delle. I am the founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of CarePoint, a tech-forward healthcare group that operates across Africa. I am an African Climate Ambassador 2024. In my work in healthcare, there's a clear nexus between healthcare and climate. In fact, the World Health Organization forecasts that between 2030 and 2050, we're going to see an additional 250,000 deaths directly as a result of climate change. Climate change affects our health through various mechanisms, including malnutrition, food insecurity, mass human displacement, and exacerbation of environmentally sensitive chronic diseases. So if my goal, which it is to ensure that we have a healthy Africa, it requires that we also have a climate-resilient Africa. The Africa Climate Summit was a platform for African leaders to discuss climate change and climate action from an African perspective. Because often these conversations are not from the perspective of the continent. We wanted to showcase Africa's opportunities and solutions for global climate challenges. The summit was hosted by Kenya and really delved into the ways in which the African continent can contribute to global solutions. We know from research, the International Renewable Energy Agency says that Africa has the potential to generate up to 310 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. But currently, we're only tapping into 2% of that potential. So the summit emphasized the need for investment and support to realize this potential. So COP stands for Conference of Parties. And these are meetings of countries that have signed various environmental agreements, such as the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. These meetings bring global leaders together to review progress and commitments on climate action. The first COP was held in 1992. And since then, COP has become a crucial platform for advancing and coordinating global climate policies and negotiations. For example, COP28, which was held in the UAE, focused on reducing fossil fuel dependence, as was highlighted in the IPCC 2023 report, which shows that fossil fuels account for over 75% of global greenhouse gas emissions. I believe that the Africa Climate Summit strengthens Africa's position on climate action at a global stage. It brought all of us together to speak as one voice. It emphasized the need for fair and inclusive transitions to low-carbon, climate-resilient economies. There should not be a trade-off between achieving our development goals and becoming climate resilient. And so it encouraged the implementation of national climate strategies to attract significant climate investments and partnerships. The African Development Bank, for example, estimates that for us to achieve universal access to electricity in Africa by 2030, it will require an annual investment of $32 billion. So the summit was able to highlight the potential on the continent in renewable energy and green industrialization, which will allow us to achieve our goals for development, but to do so in a climate-compatible way. COP28 acknowledged fossil fuels as the primary cause of climate change and had a global commitment to phase them down. There was a pledge of $792 million to support the Loss and Damage Fund. This was some progress, but of course, it falls short of what is needed. According to the UN Environment Programme, adaptation costs in developing countries alone could reach as high as $300 billion by 2030. So there's a lot more that needs to be done. But there was, at the very least, a step forward and a clear acknowledgement for ongoing substantial investment and further commitments. I believe that the Africa Climate Summit showcased Africa's unique opportunities to address climate change. The vast arable land that we have, the green minerals we possess, and the huge potential for renewable energy. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, Africa currently has 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land. So this creates a huge opportunity for agricultural development. COP28 also made progress, specifically in recognizing Africa's climate finance needs and the importance of a just energy transition. So I believe that both of these events have laid the groundwork for more robust climate action in Africa that would ensure that the climate action is done in a way that does not mean we have to sacrifice fighting poverty and creating development for our people. Africa has immense potential to lead a low-carbon development path with its massive resources for renewable energy, its arable land, and its carbon sink. According to the International Energy Agency, the renewable energy potential in Africa alone can generate 10 terawatts of energy. But this potential must be matched with urgent and substantial financial and technological support. And if we address these opportunities and challenges effectively, Africa can be a great contributor to our global climate goals. The declaration emphasizes the urgent need for sustained reductions in greenhouse gas emissions and enhanced adaptation and resilience efforts. It is a clear signal of global ambition and unity in addressing the health impacts of climate change. The World Health Organization has estimated that climate change will result in an additional 250,000 deaths between 2030 and 2050. Mainly due to malnutrition, malaria, diarrhea, and heat stress. So this declaration highlights the importance of integrating health considerations into climate policies to prevent these adverse outcomes. Healthy populations are crucial for climate resilience and successful adaptation. Prioritizing sectors like food, agriculture, water, and sanitation will lead to better health outcomes, and it will strengthen our overall climate resilience. For example, improving water and sanitation will reduce the incidence of waterborne diseases, which are expected to increase due to climate change. The Lancet Countdown on Health and Climate Change reports that climate change is exacerbating health inequalities, which makes it critical for us to address these sectors comprehensively. The nexus between health and climate is abundantly clear. We simply cannot look at both in silos. And by integrating health considerations, it helps minimize adverse public health impacts, and it ensures that our climate policies support broader health goals. Such a holistic approach will aid in designing effective climate strategies and achieving sustainable development. For instance, the IPCC notes that incorporating health into climate policies can enhance resilience and reduce vulnerability, especially in low-income communities that we know are disproportionately affected by climate change. And ultimately, as I like to say, who are we saving if we don't have a healthy population? We can and we must save both the planet and both our people. And we do so by integrating health with climate action. One of the greatest and most pressing, urgent needs of our time is addressing the adverse impact of climate change. For too long, we have sat on the sidelines when multiple and myriad challenges have affected us as a continent. But we cannot afford to sit on the sidelines when it comes to this, because the very future of our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren lies in the balance. The actions we do today and the decisions we make today will ensure or determine whether Africa and future Africans will be able to adapt to these adverse impacts of climate change. I urge and I call on all African leaders and all African citizens to rally up and to join the fight, because this is a fight for the very survival and the very future of our beloved continent.